than email. Email, you could write anything. You could be, talking to a lover or a business person, whatever. Here, when you're doing programming, it's a much finer data set. These two things are going to come together where you're going to be able to build your MVP for your startup by typing in text and then publish it. You're not going to need a developer for your startup. That is transformative in the world.
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think that this leverage, and I argue this is all about like leverage. It's one person can generate X units of output more.
Yep.
Do you guys think that this commoditizes and puts at risk, Saks in particular, like all of enterprise SaaS? Because it becomes such a commodity to basically build a business that does something now? Or does it create much higher returns for investors because you invest so much less capital to get to a point of productivity with that business or revenue with that business than was needed before?
I'm not sure. I tend to think that if it gets easier, then everything becomes more competitive. So,
right.
I don't know, but
so value gets competed away.
By the way, I would slightly disagree with the characterization.
Does this scare you as an investor?
I don't know. I mean, like for example, in that demo we just saw, what does the AI do? It exports the new design assets to Figma format because that's the standard. It just makes you faster. So if you can create a SaaS product that becomes a standard, everyone's still going to want to use it. And there's like really good reasons for that. So I don't know. I don't think business software is going away. I also don't think that like you're not going to need to hire engineers because Copilot's just going to do it for you. I think what Copilot will do is make your typical engineer more productive.
Right. Yes.
They had some graphs around how like Copilot reduced coding time by 50%.
Right.
So I think you'll be able to get a lot more out of your developers. I think that's sort of the key is a lot of the drudgery work gets taken care of.
The answer, Friedberg, to your question is, I think more startups, more niche startups will make better products, and then you'll just have many more folks like making SaaS for dentists, making SaaS.
Are those venture?
Sure.
They don't get big enough, right? I mean, in that case,
entry price matters.
It'll be poorer returns.
Well, entry price matters too. If you're investing at $5 million, like I do in companies when they're just on napkins and back of envelope, there's plenty of room. If you have a $200 million exit, that's a 40x.
But there could be a lot of new categories too, like a lot of new categories. There could be a lot of traditional industries. There's a lot of traditional industries that get disrupted. Like we're thinking about just software displacing software. It could be software displacing like industries that aren't even software
video
yet.
games. I think the entire video game industry is going to get completely rewritten with AI because you're not going to have a publisher anymore that makes one game that everyone consumes. You're going to have tools that everyone creates and consumes their own game. You guys want to watch this cool clip? It's 58 seconds long.
Go ahead.
This is a music
clip day here on All In.
But I thought it was really cool.
Is this AI turning you into Eminem? This is what the world's waiting for. I hope it's you doing an Eminem song.
It's not me. I'm naturally Eminem-like, but this is a...
Only in your anger.
This is the future rave sound. I'm getting lost in an underground. This is the future rave sound. I'm getting lost in an underground.
Is that Eminem?
It's David Guetta. And David Guetta playing Eminem, a track with Eminem's voice, right? And the track just became hugely viral.
Something that I made as a joke, and it works so good, I could not believe it. I discovered those websites that are about AI. Basically, you can write lyrics in the style of any artist you like. So I typed, write a verse in the style of Eminem about future rave. And I went to another AI website that can recreate the voice. I put the text in that and I played the record and people went nuts.
All right. That is nuts. It's nuts. And the crowd went wild for it. So here it is, folks. Whoever makes the best Friedberg Eminem hybrid rap with David Sachs as the hype man's getting a free VIP ticket to All In Summit 2023.
I think we need an AI performance at All In Summit 2023.
1,000%. You and I are so in sync these days, Friedberg.
There are going to be a lot of interesting mashups that get created. Like, for example, you'd be able to create a movie where, let's say you want to make a Western and you want John Wayne to star in it. I mean, you obviously get the rights from the
let's say
Wayne
you want to make it.
But no actor ever goes away. You could, there's going to be a database of all of them.
But if you wanted to make it,
it's going to be better. You're going to be writing the script. As you write the script, the AI is going to be showing you that scene in real time.
And you don't have to publish it, right?
Cloudy
that's
day,
the point.
Rainy day. It'll just change in real time.
I think
about what they do for Star Wars.
Just like Instagram,
just like Instagram
and just like Instagram and TikTok basically democratized like everyone's ability to create and publish content. This takes it to a whole nother level where the monopoly that big production houses have because they have the big budget, so they can afford to make a big movie. If that cost of making a $10 million movie goes to $10,000 or $1,000 of compute time, anyone sitting in their studio in a basement can start to make a movie. And it really changes the landscape for all media, not just movies, music, video games, and ultimately the consumers themselves can create stuff for their own enjoyment. And maybe the best of those products win. But having
Friedberg,
each individual create their own content.
The movie industry would just become a lot more like the music industry. I mean, remember, anyone can really create a song now. And they do. And people do go viral on TikTok.
Then they upload it on DistroKid and it's on Spotify.
Did you guys see this article in the New York Times that was kind of throwing some shade at the CEO of Goldman Sachs, David Solomon?
Yes. As a DJ.
I did see the headline. You look great in the picture, but I didn't read it because I figured it's hate.
They were talking about his side gig as being a DJ, but specifically they called out a potential conflict of interest. And it's related to this because I guess he had gotten a license to a Whitney Houston song and he remixed it and released it on Spotify. And her biopic is about to come out. And they thought that there could be this perceived conflict because Goldman works on behalf of the publishing company. And my thought was along the lines of what you guys said, like, why is this a story? Meaning David Solomon should be able to go to any website, license the song, make it, and then submit it back to them for them to approve. Because the quote in here that matters is the company that licensed it said, we are in the business of making sure this body of music stays relevant. So obviously you want Whitney Houston songs, Michael Jackson songs, you want John Wayne. You want these people to live on in culture because it's part of our culture.
Look at this subhead. David Solomon brushes off DJing.
The better way to maximize it would be like this. Go and use it, create a derivative work. Let us see it if we like it. So like Guetta should be able to just give that back to Eminem. If Eminem's cool with it, he should be able to ship it and just be done.
What a non-story. Like the New York Times is just so anti-billionaire.
So dumb.
David Solomon brushes off DJing as a minor hobby that has little to do with his work at the bank, but his activities may pose potential conflicts of interest. It's like, what are they writing about? Is there not something more important than this?
Do we think that David Solomon or any CEO of any major bank on Wall Street would put their job at risk running one of the 20 or 30 most important institutions in the financial architecture of the world to license a Whitney Houston song that they can play at Coachella? I mean, does that pass the smell test?
No. And just for the record, iconoclastic David Solomon, you're going to be doing the opening night DJ set for All in Summit 2023. The grift is on. Let's get him. He's booked. If the New York Times hates him, you got anybody the New York Times hates on, you got a slot. That's it. That'll be our lens here.
Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle for sure. 1000%. I mean, he looks good. It looks like he's living his best life. It's a finance nerd.
Does this just